So the mass adoption of crypto would be directly proportional to regulation and compliances. And I see, this thesis getting validated. US launched ETF. I think India is the only country in the world that has TDS on crypto. None other country has.
What if you're fresh out of college, leading a non-profit initiative, and suddenly you receive $1 billion from none other than Vitalik Buterin? That's exactly the situation today's Alpha Nash guest, the founder of a tax platform, Punit Agarwal, found himself in. Punit is now fixing one of the two certainties we face in life. One is death, the other is taxation. And here we are going to be talking about that in Alpha Unhashed. I'm Sri Mishra, founder of Ana Protocol, your host at Alpha Unhashed. Hi everyone, and welcome to Alpha Unhashed. Today we have Punit Agarwal, the founder of KoinX, a leading crypto tax platform in India. Punit, say a few words.
Sure, I'm excited to be here and looking forward for sharing my experience, thoughts, and discussing a lot of stuff about crypto Web3 in general stuff with you today.
So Punit, tell us a little bit more about KoinX and a little bit more about yourself.
Sure. So about me, have been active in the crypto Web3 space for about 8 years now. Started my journey back in 2017 days. Started exploring the technology the hard way. So started contributing and understanding like the Ethereum source code, Bitcoin source code, and helping protocols build consensus algorithms. That's how the journey started. And then before CoinX, I was leading the Crypto Relief Fund. You remember, Sri, the fund where Vitalik gave in $1 billion in Shiba to help India fight COVID. So this was the fund that I was leading in, and now building CoinX. So CoinX is primarily about helping investors in crypto to calculate, to automate their entire tax calculations. So for example, a person might be investing in crypto from US, and they might be having their transactions on, let's say, exchanges like Binance or a MetaMask wallet, and it becomes difficult to keep a track of what all investments you have made, whether you have done some in spot, some in futures, some you have taken as margins. Then you might have staked some, and then you just withdrew some to your MetaMask wallet and then are putting it on a DeFi protocol to yield returns on it. So how do you combine all of this, ensure that all the costs are calculated, the gains are captured, and you're filing your returns accurately? So this is where CoinX comes in, wherein we just allow users to simply fetch all their transactions from multiple data sources. And once they have done it, they can just download the reports. The best part is these reports are customized for their country's laws. So if a UK investor is using CoinX, they'll receive report as per the UK laws. US one would receive as per US laws, similar to such 100 countries. So we started with
Fantastic,
India and are live for 100
fantastic.
countries now.
We'll dive into that, and I guess there've been many such celebratory moments in your life. First, I'm guessing the experience with getting Vitalik to come on board the crypto relief fund would have been fantastic, and we'll talk about that. And also the great strides that CoinX is making, because as we know, there are only two certainties in life: death and taxes. So everybody's got to pay taxes. So I'm sure so when you have that certainty in your life, especially in your crypto life, then if you're building something around that, there are many things, many moments which will emerge to celebrate. But more recently, I think you've got a very personal moment to celebrate. You got married recently, right? So tell us about that, and tell us if that's the thing that we should be celebrating today on Alpha Nash, because one of the things we do on this podcast is do a cheers to a celebratory moment in a founder's life.
Absolutely, I think this is one of the biggest personal moments that one see, and I have seen it in life. And yep, I got recently married. It was just a couple of weeks ago, and like the journey so far has been great, uh, and many more years to come.
Yeah, absolutely. So great. So what's your better half's name?
Nikita Agarwal.
All right. So congrats, and like I said, we do a cheers. So you've got what are you drinking today?
I'm drinking a coffee.
All right. Okay. So I'm having a whiskey, a single malt. So cheers to Nikita and you.
Yes.
Congratulations. Right. Cheers. All right. Glad you said that the moment to celebrate was the wedding and not Vitalik or something else, because I'm sure Nikita wouldn't have been too happy with that.
So,
How did you land up there in the first place?
sure. So I think Sandeep tweeted on on X mentioning that he
Sandeep
is
from Polygon, of
Sandeep from
course.
Polygon. Yep, Sandeep Nelwal, and he tweeted that like he cannot take this anymore. It's time that community comes in together and do something for COVID. So he tweeted it out and like just called in people for support that can help contribute in. And I was then like it was a lockdown in India and I did not have a lot of things to take care of. And so I just texted him saying, hey, like if you need any help here in Bhubaneswar. So I live in Bhubaneswar, which is a like city in India. So I just texted him, if you need any ground support here, happy to help, and happy to give my time and efforts. And then Sandeep said, okay, thanks. And next day he called in saying, hey, like I'm looking for someone who can run the show, and you can lead this. Would you be interested? So I said I'm given, and I had 8-10 days. So we initially thought it will hardly take about 8-10 days. Will for things to settle, like until the large oxygen relief comes in, and a lot of government efforts were also happening in. So we assumed, or we thought it would be in hardly 10 days kind of a stunt. And I said, oh, I have 10 days,
So
happy
some
to.
funds were already raised by then.
Not much. We did not put the addresses out. So we just said that this we are starting something, and then we would keep the details posted. So that's how we started looking in, and like then we started posting the addresses for different chains. Then the funds started coming in, and when the funds started coming in, it was like completely bonkers. First day, $1.5 million. Second day,
Mhm.
$3 million, and this included, on second day, Vitalik actually contributed 600 of his personal ethers. So 600 ether was transferred by Vitalik, and a lot of notable people then started contributing in, and we were seeing the wallet getting a lot of attention, and a lot of transactions were coming in. A lot of people were contributing, like decent amounts to the fund. And that's how we started, and we were also fast in terms of deploying. So we like started looking at what are the immediate needs for the country. Oxygen was one of them. So we funded ACT grants, which was an initiative by Sequoia Capital, and like a lot of other venture capitalists and founders. So they were bringing in concentrators into India. So on day two, we funded them with $1 million. We said that we are going to give you $1 million, bring more concentrators and help India fight COVID better. So a lot of these set of things started happening in, and like we then engaged with. So we got to know from one of the volunteers who was in Kuwait that India and Kuwait have signed an agreement to send oxygen cylinders, and Kuwait government is contributing 1,000 cylinders to send from Kuwait to India. And to carry these cylinders, India is sending Indian Navy ships which can bring these down. And we realized that the ship has a capacity to carry more than 1,000. And if there are any private groups that are willing to contribute, and the ship is happy to carry that. And that's how we like reached out to the embassy, contacted them, uh, then reached out to some of the vendors. We also decided to match 1,000 cylinders, and we said that, hey, we will all top up with another 1,000 cylinders and let this, can you please allow the Indian Navy to bring this cylinders for use? So that's how we started this, and we did post about it. So the entire port was filled with a lot of cylinders. These were getting lifted by cranes, put on the Navy ship, and these pictures came out. We posted this, and this is when I think Vitalik said that, hey, this group is actually doing certain beneficial work, and they're quick, and that's where we received the $1 billion Shiba tranche from Vitalik.
Hmm. Okay, no, fantastic. And so that must have and did Vitalik tell get in touch with you guys, DM the handle or anything of that sort, or just send the $1 billion from his wallet?
So that was again a funny incident. So he just sent Shiba, and he pinged Sandeep saying that, hey, I've sent it, please check if you've received. And we were like,
And
oh.
when just for clarity, when he sent, Shiba was already valued at a billion at that point in time.
At that point, yeah. So the time of at the point of transaction time, it was valued at $1 billion. But we all knew
Hmm.
that it's a speculative coin, it's a meme coin, so the value might not actually be, like liquid value. It
Yeah.
is something that we are seeing in. So, but then the amount was valued at $1 billion, and when we received it, we
Hmm.
were like, oh man, what did you do?
Mm.
And so that's where, like we for the
Mm.
first time he sent 600 ethers. He also sent a few dai, which was on day 2, day 3 of our existence. And then suddenly on day 13th we receive another ping saying that, hey, I've sent some more, check if you've received. And then when we checked,
Mm.
I was on etherscan. I looked into that particular address for about 3 times. I was not able to verify the amount. I was like, hey, is it $1 million, is it $1 billion, what's happening, and am I not seeing it correctly? What is the actual value? And then we realized, oh, it's $1 billion. And so that was a crazy moment.
Okay, that is so exciting, Puneet, to just suddenly have your ETH wallet and you checking on Etherscan and wondering, and with Shiba with so many decimals also, you have to really do some math to arrive at whether it's a billion or 100 million or wherever. I can understand. So great. But then it's all in Shiba, and to for any ultimately you had to kind of wherever you had to deploy, you probably it had to be in fiat. I'm sure not even some stables or anything else. So how did you guys go about sort of liquidating this?
Right. So the immediate reaction was, we were panicked because, like we had 10% circulation supply of Shiba with us. And this would significantly impact the retail investor,
Hmm.
because the price was crashing down. We were not bothered about our holdings. We were bothered about a lot of people who actually put their hard-earned money. They would start losing it. And so our first response to it was, we tweeted saying that, hey, this is, we will not liquidate it at once. We would be responsible handling the Shiba that we have received, and over a period of time we would be liquidating it out in small tranches, not even in one tranche. And then we released another tweet asking community to vote which market maker should we engage with. And
Hmm.
Wintermute CEO Evgeny had put out a detailed proposal on how they would liquidate Shiba that we have received. And so we put out a vote asking for which market maker should we go ahead with. So Wintermute won. Then we engaged Wintermute, and they helped us over a period of about 4 months. They probably liquidated the. So we had about 50 trillion Shiba coins. So this 50 trillion Shiba coins were liquidated, and we received close to about 464 million USDCs in return. So, like the first tranche was for 81 million, the second substantially. So, over a period of time, we in net received about 464 million US dollars from them. And, like we started deploying these USDCs. Now, as you rightly said, a lot of, so we were funding, or we were supporting not for profits in India, and most of them did not accept crypto. So we had to convert USDCs, the stables, into dollars, and we did that using registered OTC platforms. So basically that can help us convert crypto to fiat, and we use them. We converted crypto into fiat. We had a bank account. We remitted dollars to India, and these dollars then were received by not for profits for using it for the purpose, and like then they started deploying it up.
Okay, so this must have obviously involved. So you've got the Shiba in the wallet. Now there's a Wintermute who helped convert all of that into USDC. Well, at least we got close to sort of 45% of the the then transaction value, which is not, which is sort of still a huge number, almost half a billion, and that the entire amount was then converted into fiat through OTCs where across in the US
Not
or.
entire amount. It was in tranches as and when we needed funds to deploy. So the
Hmm.
fund still holds more than 200 mil in USDCs, and
Okay.
yep. So as and when the fund requires
Hmm.
money, they just convert it in small tranches. So small tranches meaning 5 mil, 10 mil, 20 mil tranches.
Oh, so and that and is there a structure for this fund? Is it based out of somewhere?
So it started informally. So it was a private company registered, in UAE. So eventually, that's how they started it, because we never knew this would gonna be so big. So on day three or day fourth, we were done with incorporating the entity and like opening up a bank account. Even before the Shiba trans actually came in, because we had still $4 5 million that we had raised that we wanted to deploy. So that's how the structure started in. But as on today, the entire restructure approach is taking place. There are, like one of the big fours has been appointed to set up and like a proper foundation for this particular fund, and that is managing the entire setup. But yeah, when it started, Sandeep, mentioned on his tweet that entire funds is his personal responsibility, and he opened up a private company or a single owned company in UAE, and then that was holding the entire funds.
Okay, no, fantastic. So you obviously haven't sort of, I don't know how long you continued with this role. So tell us about moving out, and just it is interesting that there's still 200 million in the fund, and there's so much good work which has been done with that, and I'm sure Sandeep and everyone else who's still involved in that, they continue to do great work on that.
Right. So I was involved from day zero to about 1.5 years. So, working dedicatedly on this. And yep, that's largely how. And during that period, lot of efforts were funded, and we funded, for example, like helping India get 165 million vaccination syringes. This was used directly to like pump up the entire vaccination drive in India. So this was in partnership with UNICEF and Ministry of Healthcare. So like Ministry of Health and Family Welfare, basically MOHFW. And so this was one of the largest vaccination drives, because India A has the highest population. And when I'm talking about 165 million people, if we just sort the countries, all the countries in the world based on their population, sixth country would not have the entire population that crypto relief vaccinated. So it's like huge, humongous number that has been benefited. So this is one of the achievements. Apart from it, a lot of so Omicron, which was detected in India, the third wave Omicron. So the lab that actually detected Omicron was funded. The entire experiment, the entire process of sequencing, the viral strains was funded by Crypto Relief, and because of which
Hmm.
we were able to identify that India has arrived Omicron at least 3 to 4 days ahead. Otherwise, we would have to send some parallel strains to other laboratories, then it would have
Right.
taken its own time. So we saved about 3 4 days,
Well,
knowing
what's
that.
happening in the more recent
Right.
past?
So now the fund is largely working on setting up an entire. So there are two large layers. One is setting up an entire virology network, which
Hmm.
is acting towards understanding, like funding research, funding innovation, funding actual impact, innovative products on the ground, which can help identify and predict pandemics in future. So it helps understand what exactly viral loads are happening and what's happening where, what pockets.
Hmm.
So for this initiative, they have funded IIT Bombay, IIT Delhi, AIMS New Delhi, IIT Madras, ISC Bangalore, and like a lot of prestigious institutions for research, a lot of other groups for like innovating stuff. So that is which is working with the entire like virology groups of institutes in the country, and then building an entire like preparedness setup that can help prepare for future pandemics, God forbid if any. And the other group is working deep on grounds in like remote pockets, wherein they are like taking actual products to from like idea or from prototype to actual scale. So wherein like they are
Wow.
taking a lot
Okay.
of healthcare projects which are in the
Hmm.
prototype, which can actually impact a lot of lives and can reduce the costs of healthcare significantly. They are helping
Hmm.
them, giving them a playground, and like helping them scale and set up and
Yeah,
take it.
this is a real. I mean, it's wonderful to hear about it. I mean, something which started because of a real critical emergency across the world, and especially what happened in India during COVID and the lockdowns, and from there on to what crypto can do when there is a sense of purpose around bringing crypto technology, finance, and purpose together. So this must have given you some great learnings as well through this whole process. So anything that you'd like to share?
Absolutely. I think all before crypto relief, all the years I was very fanatic about decentralization, like saying that why do we need intermediaries, why banks, why governments, like up to an extent they. But personally, I had a lot of these thoughts and like understanding and the other way around, because that's how the I understood the technology. But with crypto relief, it was of course a lot of humanitarian effort that was happening in on ground, and a lot of dealings with like people who work for not for profit and healthcare. But I was also exposed to a lot of regulators, and like that's where I realized, having conversations with actual decision makers and policy makers uh, across different geographies. Like I was dealing with people in UAE, people in US, people in India, and dealing with multiple regulators. It hit me hard that the concerns that they have are actually genuine, and like
They have a hard job. Right? I
they have
mean,
a hard job. And
we on the other side of the table. It just seems, I mean, for folks especially who are kind of, as you rightly said, we kind of have a philosophical alignment with decentralization, but
right.
regulators really have a hard job as well. Yeah.
Exactly. So I realize that their concerns are genuine, and these needs to be addressed. There needs to be tools, there needs to be solutions that actually are able to address these problems, because their problems are really genuine and in the interest of public. So that's where I started looking and diving more into research, more into compliance, more into like understanding what tools exist in the space. We at Crypto Relief were using a lot of tools for our own compliance set of requirements, and that's how I started diving deeper in it. One thing that I like made an instinct about during my stint at Crypto Relief was that reg- if we are looking at crypto to mass adoption of crypto at the next phase, for example, if today world's 2% population is exposed to crypto, if we want this 2% to be 5%, to be 10%, it made me I realized it hard way that this cannot happen without regulations and compliances. Like once the regulation are in, a lot of people who are on the edge today that want to expose themselves to crypto but are not, fearing that what could happen to this industry, there's no regulation, there's no certainty, there's no clarity, they are on the fence of entering in the space. And as soon as there will be some regulation, these would be the first ones to enter. So the mass adoption of crypto would be directly proportional to regulation and compliances. And I see with this thesis getting validated, US launched ETF. And this is not directly a regulation for crypto, but then this has become a way for a lot of institutional investors, a lot of traditional investors to get themselves exposed to crypto. And I see that as in mass adoption. This might not be mass adoption for blockchain, but this might be mass adoption for people having crypto in their holdings.
Yeah. No, I think I agree with you on that. Till we all had our orange pill moments and got into crypto, and just around that time it was such an alien world, right? And I'm sure you would have had that. I've gone through that till I really understood the technology to some extent, and then really felt a whole alignment with it, and then you're in. But then everything is so complex in the space, so really for wider adoption a lot has to change. And to that extent, any financial market wrapper, essentially any product like an ETF or any other forms which allows wider adoption to happen through that route, is actually good. I think in the short term. Long term, there are concentration on other issues, but I also believe that once these users are in and they kind of understand a bit more about crypto, well, hopefully at least, and a segment of them will start exploring further into the technology and the asset class,
Absolutely.
and that's when decentralized finance will come in. They'll go beyond their current forms of investing, asset management, get into DeFi asset management, explore products, the whole technology.
Right.
I think it can prove to be a great gateway for mass adoption in
Exactly.
a
Yeah.
regulated framework. Yeah.
Correct.
Right. Okay. So yes, I think must have been sort of great, some of these learnings from there. But how did you? How was any? Can you share any? We'll get to how you got into crypto and what really spoke to you, be it the decentralization, be it the idea of money which is sort of without any sovereign control, the idea of a permissionless architecture. So all of this, we'll get into that. But and some or all of this would have strung some chords with you. But
Right.
before that, is there anything from your growing up years, that you felt kind of shaped your thinking or your sort of motivation, which then later on you realize kind of really synced with the whole world of crypto and decentralized finance?
I think so. One particular incidents that happened, and I think that's where I also started liking the entire technology of blockchain. So back in 2016, 15, 16 days, my grandmother was hospitalized, and so I was in my 12th class then, so I did not had much practical knowledge of what's happening in with on ground actually, and that was my first exposure. And I was, she was hospitalized here in a local hospital here in Bhubaneswar, and I was with her for some time, and uh, like there were a lot of treatments that was happening, and a lot of medicines, a lot of injections, a lot of doctor visits, etc. And when she was discharged, I was looking at the bills, and I was actually in the hospital for a lot of time, and like my brother was, my mother was, and we found out like a lot of medicines and drugs that they have mentioned in the bill was not actually given to the patient. And this made us realize that like it's since she was insured, like a lot of people don't care, and a lot of people today are insured and they don't care exactly what's happening in. But then hospitals are using this as a mechanism to charge more to insurance companies, and then like it's a untransparent mechanism, or like in which how things are being dealt.
It's a whole
Uh,
loop which keeps on driving healthcare costs higher and higher, and that's exactly what's happened in the US.
Right. So that's something that I first hand looked into, because I always thought that people would be actually cautious about it. People will charge for what they are serving in. but they did not. And I found out that this was not only the case with this hospital. This is something that's happening at a macro level. And I was, like bit annoyed with the entire industry, and realized that this is something, that cannot be controlled by an individual group. It has to be done, either through a policy or through a public system that can control it down. So I had this in back of my mind, and that's when I thought that something that could be, like transparent. So any technology which can actually give in transparent information and can connect a lot of groups together, could be something very interesting. And like that's how. So I did not think about that immediately, but when I was reading about blockchain, this automatically came in as the first thought. Hey, like this technology can solve the issue that I saw there, and can possibly, be a game changer for the healthcare industry.
Hmm. Okay. And so how did your initiation into crypto happen? So this incident you spoke about was when
This was in 2015, 16, and
15, 16, and
yeah. So
you were 18 years
I
old then.
was, yep, close to. I was about like 17 years old then.
Yeah, you mentioned class 12. So okay, then
Yeah.
okay, so then when did crypto happen?
Right. So I first read about Bitcoin when, I read it in news that some ransomware happened and people were charging in Bitcoins, and they hacked the entire system was blocked. And this happened here in a hospital in Barampur, which is, like 2 hours away from Bhubaneswar. And they had to pay Bitcoins as ransomware,
So just Bhubaneswar is sort of in Odisha, in the eastern part of India, and I also happen to hail from Odisha. My home is in Cuttack. Arna Lab, which builds the technology for Arna protocol, is based out of Bhubaneswar, and that's how sort of apart from our crypto connection, Punit and I met up over there. But yeah, and this ransomware, Bitcoin, and story of that something happening in Barampur, which is sort of even a much lesser known uh, city
right.
in India. So it's fantastic. Tell us more. Yeah, I just thought I'll
So
set some context. Yeah, about these
yeah.
places. Yeah.
So there's a hospital in Barampur. I don't exactly remember whether it was a hospital or a medical college, but it was something related
Mm.
to healthcare. And their systems were blocked. Their systems,
Mm.
and their entire systems were seeing a message on that screen saying that, hey, like you have to pay Bitcoins for your systems to be unlocked. And this news came out, and I don't know who the hackers were, whether they were local, whether they were global, no idea there. But that's when I first read about this technology and this word called Bitcoin. And I was thinking, hey, why would someone charge something which is digital? Why not cash? Because and like if it's digital, they would get caught. So I started learning more about it. Why are ransomwares charging something in digital? Because like you leave digital footprints and you're eventually getting caught. So I started learning more, getting dived in deeper. And parallelly, what was also happening is during that period, prices of Bitcoin was inflating. And when I first looked at Bitcoin on Google, the price I think then was about $1,200, about 1 lakh INR. And like then subsequently in 2.5 months it went to 3 lakh INR. Then in about 4.5 months 5 lakh INR. And I was looking, hey, what is this? Like how is it happening and why this is gaining popularity? If ransomware and like other attacks are happening in using this, why is it gaining so popularity? What's happening? And then I started diving deeper into it, understanding more. But my actual research started happening in when I was in an internship in Taiwan. So from college, so I joined engineering college, and in my second year, I went to an internship in Taiwan, and that's how I started learning more about. So I went actually on an AI internship, and like started exploring topics with professors there and expressed my interest in Bitcoin. So they were also doing certain things, in setup of mining setup for Bitcoin, because not a lot of applications were getting built then. It was largely about mining Bitcoins and Ethereums. So I started looking more into it, then came back to India, wrote a couple of research papers along with them. So we did write a survey paper on the healthcare applications for blockchain, and then I also wrote a couple of research papers more along with them. So that's when I started actually diving deeper into it in terms of like how blockchain can what technology is, what benefits does it carry, how it can be used in multiple industries. And I think this was in late 2017 when I actually started diving deeper into this technology.
Mhm. All right. Okay, so that then you at some point decided that tax is a problem area and that needs a fix. So, what is the biggest pain point in taxation? In I know you. How many countries are you guys operating in, and what are the top five or top three countries out of them in terms of users?
Right. So crypto relief, I mentioned, taught me regulations and compliance, and it made me realize that this is inevitable. And while I was tracking it, more than 30 countries taxed cryptocurrencies, and this is all in like less than uh, 16 months. So within 16 months, more than 30 countries have taxed cryptocurrencies, including India. So in February 2022, India announced in its budget that they will be taxing cryptocurrencies. So that's when I started looking deeper into the taxation side of things. So I had a small portfolio. I sat with my CA. We start calculating, and like how entire gains would be calculated, what would be my taxes on top of it. And then I spent an entire day, Sri. We brought in whiteboards, we brought in markers, like we uh, got everything that we wanted. We could not even move an inch. I had about 600 transactions on an exchange. We downloaded the report, tried to calculate tax for one transaction. It took us a lot of time to even understand what's happening in, because there was no taxation framework. So first I had to spend time understanding whether should I treat it as a commodity or a security or an asset, or how do I go about it. And then once that is decided, how do I actually calculate the tax. Now the biggest problem here is, in crypto there are crypto to crypto swaps. So I can just, so most of the exchanges, what they show is -1 ether plus 100 matic. That's it. Now if I have to calculate my tax, I need to know what was the price of acquiring that ether. And I might have acquired that ether at multiple points in time. So then I might have to put one of the cost basis calculation methods, which is, let's say, first in first out, last in first out, to calculate what was the cost of that ether, and the total ether that I've bought. Now, once I'm converting that ether to, let's say, Matic, I need to know what was the price of Matic on that day, because
Hmm.
I'm getting that in return. So let's say I bought ethers at $100, converting it at $150. So then I will be able to get to know that $50 is my profit, right? And now what's happening is I'm moving funds between one exchange to another, or one wallet to another. So wallet A does not know what's happening in after it has left its environment. So then I need to keep a track. I need to look at two sheets now, that, oh, this left here, this came in here, so I need to carry forward what's happening. Then I also had some transactions in futures and options, and there it was further, like they were low, they were margin, they were borrowings, they were, like funding interest coming in, then there was funding interest going out also at certain periodic intervals. So, and these were very small fractions. So then for all of these small fractions that going out, I need to further calculate what was the dollar value then, and accordingly adjust my cost for the remaining cryptos that I hold, right? So this all started becoming in complex. Plus price is not stable. Like there is no open, there is no close in this market. So which price shall I take? Shall I take that hours time, that days time, that seconds time? What do I do about it? And this further adds to complexity, in terms of how do I entirely calculate my cost. Now when it comes to taxes, again, for taxes there is no one, one clear law. Uh, what do I mean about what do I mean when I say this is crypto to crypto swaps. If I'm getting any capital gains out of it, it has to be reported separately. If there are any airdrops or rewards or interest which is coming in, it needs to be declared in separately. If I'm making any
And
expenses,
this you're talking about Indian regulations.
most of the countries,
Okay, where
including
about?
India,
Okay.
most of the countries. So this would be treated as other income. Something would be treated as capital gains. Then something would be treated as an expense. Then you need to figure out what exactly you need to pay taxes on. So this becomes completely chaotic. And I go to an extent saying that if you're having more than one platform where you're transacting in, and if you're doing crypto to crypto transactions, at after a point about like after 20 trades, 30 trades a year, this becomes something that you would not be able to do manually. You would need a tool to be able to do it accurately, else you might be able to, but the data would not be accurate. So, and then the problem does not end here. Now, once I've figured out, oh, this is my final tax, I need to report it. And in order to report it, the different governments have different particular forms. So they want the entire data to be put in a standard format and declare each and every transaction that you have in a prescribed format. Now I have to convert all of these different form. The exchange has given me different exchanges have given me different reports. Understanding that making this particular format is again a nightmare. So that's largely what the problem statement is. And we realize, plus to add in a difficult layer on top of it, is there is no nomenclature in the industry. So someone might be just calling it as ETH slash BTC, someone might be calling it as an ether to BTC swap, someone might be just calling it as ether to Bitcoin convert. There's no nomenclature, like just people randomly. So different exchanges have different reports, and different reports have different types mentioned. So understanding what exactly is that nature of operation, then putting in resources around, then understanding what exactly it is, that further adds to complexity in terms of understanding exactly what was this transaction and how do I deal about it. So this is largely the problem statement that we found is inevitable. And there are when we started building CoinX, there were about 15 million people in India who were investing in crypto, and we realized that all of this 15 million people will face this problem, and this needs to be addressed. Else, even if they want to report taxes, even if they want to report their gains, they would not be able to.
Mm.
So that's how the
And
journey of CoinX started in India. We
mm,
started building this, scaled this. Today we have over half a million users on the platform, more than 500,000 users on the platform.
mhm.
We are live in about 100 countries now, and partnered with some of the biggest exchanges. So, like that's how the entire journey has been.
That's an awesome journey. That's an awesome journey. And what's been what are the sort of top three countries in terms of user base or fee and fees?
Right. So India is the largest user base because we started from here. And apart from India, we have a lot of users from US and UK.
Okay, all right. And what's how do you guys make money?
Right. So people pay to generate their tax reports. So, if you can just come and connect all of the data sources where you have transactions, look into your portfolio for free. If you want to generate tax reports, you pay. And depending on how many transactions you have. So, let's say a person who has 100 transactions wants tax report for India would be paying close to $10 a year. And similarly, if a person having 1,000 transactions wants to download report in US, would be paying roughly about $50 a year. So within that $50, their entire transactions is computed. The tax reports are calculated. Specific forms are given which they can use to file their returns in US.
Okay, all right. And how, so you mentioned exchanges. So obviously, it's mostly the centralized exchanges. So somebody connects your subscribes and connects your API, and all the transactions are downloaded directly via that, and all. So what about DeFi? Are you able to track all on-chain transactions for a user who might have interacted on multiple DeFi protocols and provide a tax report to them as well.
Right. So DeFi and NFT space is complex because there are a lot of protocols, a lot of types of transactions that's keep on happening there. So we support 100 chains already on CoinX. And like this include all the EVM chains, the Tron ecosystem, Solana ecosystem, and like so that people can fetch transactions from these sources and generate their reports. And we are able to support about 95% of use cases that people have. So like on major protocols, uh, doing swaps, doing liquid farming, doing staking on DeFi protocols, like bridging from one chain to another chain. So all of these are captured automatically in CoinX, and automatic tax computations happen for these set of transactions already.
So can you run us through one? For example, somebody has contributed to a liquidity pool,
Right.
and after some time, the user gets the LP token, the liquid pool APY paid back in the LP token or the underlying asset, and also withdraws at some point in time. So how do you is there a quantification that you guys do for all such transactions, or is it limited to some particular type of transactions?
Correct. So all the transactions will be fetched on CoinX. Right now, you will have to account for some of these transactions. For example, a lot of these accounting is also automatic. I'll tell you what. So let's say you have put in your public address. Let's say the transaction is happening on Polygon chain. You put in your Polygon address. It receives all the CoinX fetches all the transactions.
Yeah.
We are seeing one transaction as withdraw, and this is going actually to the LP pool. And from there, you're seeing a lot of deposits coming in, which is in LP tokens. So CoinX has options wherein you can just simply mark this withdrawal as label it and just 2 clicks. Like just click on add label and then send to pool. So this treatment will be then treated as you have sent it to a pool. And for the rewards that you're receiving it, platform will automatically be categorizing that as rewards or stay, interest income. And if not, if it's just treating it as deposit, again just 3 clicks, label, treat it as an interest. Multi-select, select all the transactions that you've received as interest, add labels, interest. That's it. So even if, and this makes 100% accurate results. So like you just have to review the transactions that's coming in. 95% of it would be automatically labeled. The remaining 5% you just have to ensure that you have labeled it rightly, and then you are good to go with taxes.
Okay, all right. And I'm sure in due course, using some kind of machine learning, you'll be able to sort of label all of these directly. So
Absolutely. So
yeah.
yeah, we on a daily effort basis, like there are lots and lots of new types and types of transactions that we keep on adding into our knowledge base, so that it automatically recognizes in. And when I say 90%, 95%, this is actually better than all of our competitive platforms. So like we are there, but we are not at the perfect level yet for DeFi. So, but we are a
Mhm.
long way already ahead on this.
Okay, all right. So that's great. And you mentioned how many users? Sorry, I missed that on your platform
More than
currently.
500,000 users now. So I think current as on yesterday it was about like 520K users.
500,000 users already. And what what do you think really worked for you in terms of your go to market strategy, or are there any specific markers over there which really kickstarted adoption of the platform?
I think initial was referral because a lot of people actually saw value in the platform and then they started referring their users, and that helped us build in credibility. Uh, then a lot of affiliates came in, and like a lot of influencers who personally used CoinX, and then at no cost started promoting CoinX because they actually liked what we are building in. So I think product stood in the first place. and that became a way for people to talk about it. And then when it came to scale, a lot of exchange partnerships, a lot of other partnerships that we did with companies that have crypto users, that helped us reach out to the right audience. So when we were reaching out to right audience, we saw mass adoption there.
Mm-hmm. Okay, all right. And how have you sort of established Coinbase? Are you guys funded? What's your roadmap, or have you been bootstrapping all of this so far? And how large is the team? So give us a flavor of all of that.
Right. So we are funded. We started this in April 2022. In June, we raised $1.5 million round, backed by some of the best angels and syndicates from both the startup and crypto world. Some of the notable names include Sandeep from Polygon, Naveen from Ripple, Siddharth, the global CEO CleverTap, Utsav Somani, who currently runs offline and iSeed fund. So, like some of these people came and backed us. And yep, since then, we also did raise few angels wanted to come in and they wanted to put in checks. So we also raised another 500,000 they substantially. So total investments is close to $2 million, and team size today is about 40 people. So like 40 people building the entire stuff and scaling it up.
Fantastic, and I'm sure sort of there's a lot more to be done, and it's all kind of totally set to go from here. And like we were talking about, taxation and tax is a problem area, or rather an opportunity which will be there. But what is, in terms of, let's talk about India specifically, and there's
Sure.
always been a lot of friction re crypto taxation, and the crypto world obviously feels that there's very unfair treatment for crypto. um, at the same time, to expect that crypto will not be taxed is also kind of an illogical ask,
Expectation,
probably.
yeah.
So but it needs to be taxed in the right. So can you share some, I mean, being so close to it, what are some of the taxation related issues which are really proving to be barriers in crypto's adoption in the right way in India?
Right. I think one of the biggest thing is not allowing offset of losses, because like when
Mm,
you pay taxes, you actually pay. You would be okay paying tax on something you have actually earned. But what's happening with the Indian regulation is, let's say I made two trades. I initial capital $100. From $100, I made a trade. I booked it at 120. So I booked $20 as profit. Now I reinvested that $120 and I booked a loss and came back to 100. So net net, I did not make anything. I In one transaction I made $20. In another transaction I lost that $20. So I did not make anything out of crypto. But as per the current laws, people are liable to pay 30% profits on their first transaction where they made profit, which which does not make any sense, because here the person has not made any money from crypto in a financial year. He started with 100, he's at 100 again,
mm,
but still he has to pay 6.66 out of his pocket, right? Which is heavy. So I think this is unreasonable, and it has to change, immediately for it to be fair. Currently it's not even fair. For the field to be level fair.
mm,
This is,
absolutely,
I
yeah.
think, this is a fundamental right any crypto investor should
Mm,
ask for. Second, 30%. So I think for me personally, 30% is high, but when I see from a larger lens, if I'm
mm,
not making anything, paying 30% on it would be much
mm.
tougher. If I'm making something,
So 30% is a flat cap gain tax. There's
it's a
no
flat
long
capital
term, short
gain. There
term,
is no
no
long
treatment
term,
of
there
that.
is no short term, there is no indexing benefits. It's a flat 30% on any gains. So even
Mm,
that for long term horizon becomes difficult, because like then people would not be staying in crypto for long. or investing for long and then like building it as an asset class, it is then it will be mostly treated as a short term investment process.
Mm.
So that is something that needs to be looked into. The third part is the TDS, which is today at 1%, like the withholding tax,
Mm.
which is 1% of the entire transaction volume. So this actually sucks in capital. And we have seen in numerous cases where the total tax liability of a user is much less than the TDS that they have already deposited. Now, this includes two, this, leads to two things. A, person has paid more taxes than he has intended to or that he has liable to, so he have to wait for more than a year to like the financial year to end in and then the reportings to start and for him to actually
Mm.
get in a refund. So this takes in time, so his capital is blocked. Second, on the government's end, it includes a lot of operations because then they have to first collect all the TDS, then return all the TDS back. So this is inefficient system. So like reducing TDS would the reducing 1% TDS would actually help a lot on this.
Hmm. Okay. And I'm guessing this TDS would have the sort of direct impact of also on liquidity on exchanges directly, because every transaction is being taxed at 1%. So, and that already happened in on multiple exchanges when this was introduced.
Right,
How
absolutely.
is that panning out now?
So exchanges have taken a stance that for transactions happening in future markets, there would be no TDS. So I think they've started marketing it differently and then getting back some volumes, and volumes are shifting from spot to futures. But yeah, I think having higher TDS would definitely impact liquidity overall.
Hmm. Okay. So you mentioned CoinX, the other important markets for you guys are US and UK. Can you shed some light on exactly on these 3 points? One is the offset, one is the the quantum of taxation and long-term, short-term treatment, and third is on sort of transaction TDS. Is how do these markets compare?
Most of them look crypto as assets, so there is capital gains again on transactions or happening in crypto. Most of them look it at par with securities. So whatever is the taxation for securities, like if I'm investing in stock market
For
in
any
India.
financial asset.
Correct. For any financial asset, similar to that. So there's no higher tax slabs for crypto. It's at par with the securities market. There are long term, short term benefits out of it. And there are also clear guidelines for different types of transactions and how it has to be taxed. For example, how staking income should be treated, how mining income should be treated, how swaps are to be treated. So there are clear guidelines in terms of at least these two geographies. Third, TDS. I think India is the only country in the world that has TDS on crypto. None other country has.
Yeah. So it's so markets which have a capital gain taxation, and it's absolutely fair for that to be applied to crypto.
Right.
In I mean, in certain countries are sort of coming up with Bitcoin tax exemption and stuff. I kind of come by here and there, which is sort of interesting. Not sure what's the real sort of thinking behind it, but clearly wherever there's a taxation framework for other financial assets, crypto being treated in a similar way is probably absolutely fair and the right way of looking at it. But and markets which do not have any capital gains regime, and similarly crypto kind of gets that benefit as well. But to have a very differential approach to crypto, and that to bring in to have other forms of taxation, clearly is seems an area of which is impacting the wider adoption of crypto, and very importantly kind of probably preventing also a lot of users from participating in the whole wealth creation which
Correct.
is eventually going to happen from crypto. We've seen it grow from $1 trillion from last 2 years. Of course, it was 3 trillion prior to that. It's a new volatile asset class, but from $1 trillion, so it's grown to close to 4 trillion now. I mean, not
Right.
and it is going to grow to a much larger number from here, and it'll be sort of probably at the expense of many users, investors who will not be able to participate in this if it's because of just for the friction of and of unfair or kind of an unlevel playing field for as far as taxation is concerned.
Absolutely. No, totally aligned with the thought there, Sri.
So, are you guys doing anything about it in India? Are you making any representations? And I'm sure the government, for some reason, might have had their thoughts around this, maybe to kind of actually to curb crypto transactions, but because of an understanding which is informed by certain views or vectors. So, are you guys doing anything on that front to explain to the
Right.
government?
So we are members of Bharat Web3 Association, which is the industry body association representing a lot of crypto companies in India, and in that deals in with government, and puts in the thoughts and feedback from the industry to the government and acts in as the bridge. So through Bharat Web3 Association, we have been engaging with a lot of policymakers, a lot of departments in the Ministry of Finance that takes care of taxation frameworks per se, and we have put these issues out to them, and they are aware, they have heard us, and there might be some changes expected in future.
Okay.
And yeah, in if not in near future, but in in at least 2 3 years from now.
All right. That's great to hear, and we hope to see almost like a unified, taxation regime for financial or assets in general, and for crypto maybe it needs a more global approach. So, but it'll be great to there. So wonderful, wonderful to kind of hear some of these engagements which are happening with policymakers and regulators on that front. What's your roadmap for CoinX? So, any big things cooking? What's next? What's happening?
Right. So I think largely on the taxation product, there are a lot of partnership announcements with exchanges, a lot of new markets which we are launching, and a lot of new features we are bringing in for our users. One of the other biggest updates is we have also recently launched a platform for enterprises dealing in crypto, and this goes beyond taxation. This is a complete bookkeeping accounting platform that can help you or any business in crypto account for their entire crypto transactions and be financially compliant. So this could be transactions happening in their chains, happening in the company's wallets, happening in exchanges where company have accounts, or could be even bank. So where people are just moving fiat, paying salaries, getting their revenues, getting expenses, covering the expenses down. So this product is something that we have launched and we are scaling it up. And the idea behind is every crypto company should be financially compliant, and should have the financial metrics right on their dashboards ready for them without spending a lot of time and resources to be able to do so. So the benefit that large enterprises enjoy, we want to bring that benefit for even the companies that are starting in crypto from day one as a practice to establish.
And all the very best with that.
Thank
Thank
you.
you, and great having you at Alpha Nash, Puneet.
Thanks, Sri, for inviting. It was great conversation and amazing, interacting with you. I hope this chat helps other entrepreneurs that are coming out from cities, tier 2 cities, tier 3 cities in India, and nothing is impossible in crypto. At least from my stand at Crypto Relief, I realized that anything can happen in this space which you even haven't imagined about. So, this space is all full of surprises, and the space is still new. There are a lot of people who are contributing, genuine people who are contributing to the space, and all of them are accessible, unlike the other industries. So here you can just reach out to also Vitalik. He would be roaming around in one of the crypto conferences without having bodyguards around. So that's how the space is. And
Yeah.
yep, happy to be a contributor here.